Good afternoon, distinguished guests, members of the faculty, and my dear friends. Welcome to the second day of Conventus 2020, the annual management conclave of International Management Institute, New Delhi. The COVID-19 pandemic has brought the world to a screeching halt. Institutions, corporations, and governments alike are getting accustomed to this new normal. Conventus is a legacy that we at IMI New Delhi are determined to continue, come what may. And in that very spirit, we are proud to announce that for the very first time, Conventus is being held online. My fellow compeer, Devendra and I, shall take you through the hospitality summit of Conventus 20. This year, Conventus is structured around the theme Survival and Growth in the VUCA World, Adaptability, Agility, and Sustainability.
The acronym VUCA, which stands for Volatility, Uncertainty, Complexity, and Ambiguity, has gained massive popularity in the business world over the past few decades. The VUCA world demands leaders to come up with realistic and applicable solutions. Firstly, by tackling volatility with a visionary approach, and by not allowing small roadblocks to come in the way of overarching vision. Further, businesses needs to gauge uncertainty by bridging the gap between their causes and their effects. Firms can counter complexity by breaking down the loops of reactions and promoting proactivity towards solving problems. To conquer ambiguity, continuous learning and swiftness in decision making is the key.
For years, we have seen industries change entire business plans overnight to match current market trends. The 2002 market crash had disastrous effects on various industries. Similarly, the 2008 financial crisis had detrimental socio-economic effects on the world. A common factor in both situations is how unprepared it had left everyone. As it is rightly said, the best way to come out of a crisis is on the top, and the one way to do that is to being vigilant constantly. As future leaders, understanding how to tackle these four elements will give us the opportunity to stay ahead of the curve. Survival in a VUCA world is the need of the hour, and growth is the only way forward.
Before we proceed further, we would like to play the Conventus theme video.
Serious feedback.
Business often takes inspiration from the art of war strategies. Gone are the days when a single textbook solution could work all molds. Challenges have become multifaceted. As experienced by the US Army during the Cold War, VUCA, an acronym describing how less they knew or could think regarding situations. The COVID-19 pandemic has thrown the world into disarray. Everything has become increasingly unstable. The concept of clarity is muddled. Predicting the future is nearly impossible. Interconnectivity is more chaotic than ever. So, how do you plan on coping with the new normal?
This year is historic for us, not simply because of the COVID pandemic striking us, but also because it marks the very first year of the Hospitality Summit.
We are living in a perilous and enigmatic period where uncertainties are rife. The pandemic has led us to difficult times, but it is in these times that corporate leaders can truly show the way forward to the rest of the world. To share with us their invaluable insight on this topic, we are honored to have among us 6 business leaders. Mr. Patrick Kerr, Ms. Akansha Garg, Mr. Pradeep Dadlani, Mr. Manav Khanduja, Mr. Mohandas Palan, and Mr. Perkin Rocha.
We're delighted to introduce to you our very first speaker for Conventus 2020, Mr. Patrick Kerr, proprietor, Sylvan Paradise. Mr. Kerr is an engineer by qualification with over 20 years of experience in the hospitality and tourism industry. Currently, he is the proprietor of Sylvan Paradise Tours and Travels, which is also the promoter and operator of Kabri Acres Homestay and Adventure Park in Dehradun, Uttarakhand, India. He has been involved with Hilton Worldwide India operations as a representative of the sales team. Being inclined towards adventure tourism, he was the co-leader of the Out There Adventurers motorcycle team, which created the world record as the first team to ride over the 4 highest roads in the world in under 24 hours. They were awarded by the Limca Book of Records 2005 edition for this formidable feat. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
It gives me great honor to introduce our next panelist, Ms. Akansha Garg, Executive Director and founder of Vexpol Hotels and Resorts. Ms. Akansha Garg started her entrepreneurial foray into the tourism sector at a very young age. Currently, her hospitality brand, Vexpol Hotels and Resorts, includes 3 properties in Sundarban, Doras, and Pench National Park. She has held various advisory positions with government as well as non-government organizations, and has also been awarded with numerous high-profile tourism awards. She was recognized by Indian Leadership Conclave as the most innovative and promising woman hotelier 2019. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, IMI, for having me here. Such a pleasure.
We're delighted to introduce you all to our next panelist, Mr. Pradeep Dadlani, Director and owner of Sycom Project Consultants Private Limited. With over 35 years of experience in project consultancy, Mr. Dadlani is working towards a sustainable model of growth while focusing on environment, energy, livelihoods, CSR, carbon footprints, and so on. Mr. Dadlani is a respected alum of FMS Delhi, BITS Pelani, and a certified professional from IIM Ahmedabad in MDP. He's been involved in developing the internationally accepted criteria for sustainable tourism certification and has also been an environmental safeguards consultant with the World Bank for over a decade. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you so much. I really look forward to this. Thanks.
It gives me great honor to introduce our next panelist, Mr. Manav Khanduja, Director of Pagdandi Safaris. Mr. Manav Khanduja is currently the co-founder and director of Pagdandi Safaris, which has 6 unique jungle lodges in central India. He has experience of more than 12 years in ecotourism. Mr. Khanduja adds effective ways to shape up Pagdandi as a leading wildlife tourism company of India, while keeping the principles of conservation and sustainability intact. Pagdandi Safaris has been awarded for excellence in ecotourism for their commitment to green architecture, their experienced naturalists, and their pioneering mobile safari initiative. Sir, we are delighted to have you here today.
Thank you. It's a privilege.
We're delighted to introduce you all to our next panelist, Mr. Mohan Das Palan, Manager, Emerald Group of Hotels. Currently, Mr. Palan is the Manager for Corporate Sales at Emerald Group of Hotels. A stalwart in the industry for 20 years, Mr. Palan has served in the hospitality industry in several managerial roles. Mr. Palan believes that true happiness is derived from serving guests. We welcome you, sir.
Last
Thank
but not the least, we would like to introduce our final panelist, Mr. Perkin Rocha, Vice President, Royal Orchid Hotels. Mr. Rocha is an astute hospitality professional with 22 years of qualitative experience. He has spent over a decade with Lemon Tree Hotels as a part of the forming team. Currently, he is heading development, sales and operations for Northern Cluster with 22 hotels under his supervision. He is also the Director of Operations for Duet India Hotels, where he handles sales and marketing activities for the properties and contributes to the strategic business planning for all sister hotels. He is the only hotelier in India who is the founding team member of Global Association of Corporate Services, where he plays the role of national conveyor for hospitality and tourism. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
It gives me great honor to introduce the moderator for the session, Dr. Shailendra Nigam, Professor, International Management Institute, New Delhi. Dr. Nigam is a faculty in the area of OB HR and an academic administrator trained at IIM Ahmedabad. with more than 2 decades of experience spreading both in academics and corporate. He has been a part of the core team in establishing a number of B schools. A determined researcher, he has been on the textbook development board of business studies for NCERT and is responsible for shaping management education at school level. As far as consulting is concerned, he has organized international training programs for project directors of SAARC countries. He has also conducted several training programs for corporate organizations, and in the recent past, he has been involved in the business restructuring and designing the HR policy for some companies. Sir, we are very happy to have you here with us today.
Thanks, Sudhin. It is my pleasure to be amongst such a couple. Looking forward to listening to them. Thanks.
To set the tone for today's session, I would now like to share a presentation on the theme of the session.
Today's theme is resuscitating the hospitality sector in the inhospitable VUCA times.
Before we move forward with the topic, let us start with a question. What is hospitality? Historically, the concept of hospitality is about receiving guests in a spirit of goodwill, especially strangers from other lands. Hospitality implies warmth, respect, and even protection. It builds understanding and appreciation among cultures. Today, hospitality is a facet of service industry encompassing 270 million jobs and accounting for 10% of global GDP.
If ever the acronym VUCA felt appropriate to use, it is now. Organizations across industries have been experiencing volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity time and again. However, there are no parallels to the COVID-19 pandemic in recent history. Its effects on the hospitality industry are potentially heavier than even those of the 9/11 attacks, SARS, or even the financial crisis of 2008. In India, the impact of the situation on hospitality has inflicted worse than anybody could have imagined. Hotel industry has faced a weak Q2 of the financial year 2020, while the current situation has borne the brunt of many large-scale cancellations across the corporate, MICE, and leisure segments. Occupancy across hotels in key cities declined by a staggering 45 percentage points compared to the previous year.
Small entities such as bread and breakfast lodgings, hostels, bistros, and beach bars are very likely to be worse off. They shall be heavily affected by the change in supply chain. Due to lesser demand, a number of them might partially or even fully shut down until the recovery can take place.
Another major disruption in the hospitality industry is mass unemployment, since a large number of the employees are either working in this sector as on contractual basis or on casual working basis. And in both these sectors, both of them are being let go of.
As the relationship between each brand and consumer starts by building trust, we feel regaining customer confidence will be the first step in overcoming the crisis. Strict sanitary and hygiene measures with new practices are needed to monitor and control the environment in which the business takes place.
While the hospitality industry is slowly recovering, the crisis continues to exert profound impacts on how hospitality business operate. Hospitality businesses are expected to make substantial changes to ensure employees' and customers' health and safety while enhancing the latter's willingness to patronize their businesses. No matter how much planning and preparation is put in place, organizations need to be agile and in order to cope and grow in such environments.
This brings us to certain critical questions that need to be answered. What should be the strategy of hotel businesses to survive? What practices can MSME adopt to revive their growth in these unprecedented times? What impact will the mass layoff have on the hospitality industry? How can hotels leverage online channels to market their services in such times? For the same, I would request Dr. Shailendra Nigam, the moderator of the summit, to take the discussion forward with our esteemed panelists.
Thanks, Devin. So, dear friends, as all of us are aware, we have shared what I propose once again, that what we'll do, we will go ahead with a 5-6 minutes of presentation individually from all of you as a first round. Then in the second round, we propose that there can be discussion if all of you agree with regards to whatever points you have put through to the student fraternity or to the audience, inclusive of all of us, that you want to question each other and see what can be derived out of it. That can be the second round. And in the third round, we'll open the platform for students to come forward and ask their questions. Is it fine with all of us?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So we have already shared the thing. So I think the first participant, the panelist, Patrick, you are ready?
I am ready.
Yeah, so the floor is yours, Patrick.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Well, I've had to take a relook at my business and ensure that COVID-19 compliances are in place as per the government orders. We have to train our staff to understand what is COVID-19, train our staff on social distancing, use of masks and gloves, frequent and thorough hand washing with soap and water, and personal hygiene. The staff have also been trained on sanitization methods, and especially the hazards of using certain chemicals like bleaches. We also have started keeping a roster on the health of each staff. The roster is updated twice a day with body temperature and the SpO2 levels. And at the first sign of any illness, the staff is either put onto a quick medication, over-the-counter medication, or sent to a hospital for a checkup. Second thing that I've done is scaled down my business. I used to operate in a brand name of Kaveri Acres Jungle Retreat and Adventure Park. We have now downgraded that to Homestay. And in Homestay, we have decided to promote safe, sanitized, peaceful, and comfort rural environment. How we are doing this is we are reaching out to the near, all the families, friends, well-wishers, corporate guests who have previously visited us. We are asking them to try and come again. We are wanting to keep the guest numbers small, say a maximum group of 4 people per family, and 5 such family groups at one time. This will enable us to effectively take care of the social distancing, family dining as individual groups, and individual family activities, and yet allow verbal social interaction between groups of first-time meetings. The aim is also to rope in the long-stay guests, who we are targeting at for a minimum of 2 weeks to a month or longer. For this, we will have to invest in good quality phone and internet connectivity for work from home or work from anywhere guests. We will also keep a stock of sanitary equipment like the face masks and gloves for any guests who may run out of their own stocks. We will design and install QR codes for virtual check-in process, including body temperatures and SpO2 levels and COVID symptom-free medical certificates. We will add a fresh array of activities for long-term guests, long-stay guests, including off-campus dining and visiting our nearby tourist attractions. Update and upgrade the first aid box that we keep to include COVID-19 first over-the-counter medication response, and tie up with local hospitals for rapid response and emergency situations. While I'm saying this is the plan is already being implemented. We've been lucky that we have not had to lay off any of our staff because they all do multiple work. They do farm labor, they help with construction, and they also help with their hospitality business. So it's just the sensitivity on COVID-19 and how they should handle it. The big aim of ours is to promote a safe, comfortable, and sanitized environment, giving guests the courage to come out and enjoy the outdoors. Thank you.
Great, Patrick. Thanks. Thanks for sharing your thoughts on the new things what you are doing, and I really am looking forward to knowing more about when you talked about work from home, providing your spaces, assets as properties, as alternative locations. And this might
Yes.
be something worth exploring for that. Yes, today's youth who is so exploring in various aspects, and if you
Right.
can provide those connectivities,
Yes.
they can
Connectivity
be
is the issue
interested
at
to
the
be
moment.
at one of your properties for 15 days, do the work from home, be connected with their organization, and also explore tourism in the evening or on the weekends whenever they have the spare time.
Right.
That's really great. Thanks, Patrick.
Thank you, Sharendra.
Okay, so our next panelist is Akansha.
Yes. Hello, a very good afternoon to everyone. Thank you so much, Professor Nigam, for the warm welcome.
Welcome.
So, just to let you all know, I am from the hospitality background, started something small in the Sundarbans when I was 18. So, our properties are very remote. And it actually started in a VUCA situation, you know. When we opened Sundarbans, the island had no electricity, no fresh water. You had to transport everything from Calcutta, and it used to take at least 12 hours to reach where we are today. Today, because of the road development, connectivity improving, we are able to reach the island where we are located in 5 hours. But even till date, we don't have groundwater available. We don't have electricity available. So how do you do that? You plan for it. If there is ever a challenge in your business or industry or life situation, take it as a learning curve. You know, today, like I'm getting a chance to be with Professor Nigam, Redlani ji, Perkin, we all have very different establishments you're looking after. But in the end, even at our age, when you're still learning. So when you think of VUCA and how do I apply it to our business, what have we done? VUCA means, let's say volatility. Let's change it in hospitality. Hospitality is all about customer service, customer engagement. Today, when the government guidelines came out, it initially said you're allowed to come to the hotel, but not leave the room. But that's not what hospitality is about. Being in the hotel is about going and lounging out, sitting outside, going to the restaurant, eating, going to the spa, which of course is not, which is open in some places due to limited connectivity and kind of staff available with certain sanitization protocols. So what do you do there? You come up with a different option for hospitality. You build on your values. What are your values? You communicate it to your guest. Do you have integrity? How does the organization function? You figure that out. You re-strategize, remodel your business function. Earlier, we were completely dependent on a model where at least 70% of a business was inbound. That means it was coming in from overseas. Today, we are in a situation where there are no flights. So we've had to re-strategize and look at a place, plan at how are we going to market it to the domestic market. Even in the domestic market, there are certain challenges. People are not ready to take a flight. It's scary. Are there HEPA filters really installed in the airlines? Is it going to be safe? The airlines came up with a strategy that, oh, the center aisle is going to be empty. But today they're actually making somebody sit with a PPE suit. And you're actually touching somebody else. You're not allowed to drink water. So there are certain still there. So people are preferring to drive up, and a new form of tourism is taking place, which is called workations, vacations, or bubble group holidays. What are bubble group holidays? I'm sure all of you are being at home. You may be having a neighbor whose whereabouts you know, and you hang out with them. So you plan, okay, fine. These people I'm comfortable with to go for a holiday. You go for a holiday, but again, the situation, I was very glad to hear from our friend, Mr. Perkin Roka, that his hotels are doing great occupancy. But unfortunately, we are located back in the off-peak locations, back of beyond. We are in Pench, we are in Sundarbans, we are in Duas. So to reach Sundarbans, you have to take a car journey, you have to get onto the boat, go by a cruise to the island. And then again, when you're reaching the island, you have different kinds of challenges. You have local people who are apprehensive of outsiders coming in and bringing corona to the villages. So how do you work with that? So we worked out a plan. This was early on in April when we saw, okay, this is not going to go. The numbers are increasing. Like honestly, if you come and ask me today if I know what the numbers are, I don't know what the numbers are. I've stopped looking at it. I just know one thing is happening. It's going up. So what can you do in this situation? You can plan, you can re-strategize your business, remodel it, the way you are going to work, and how are you going to reassure your guests to come to you? So our plan was first to make guidelines which are practical. So with the Association of Tour Operators, Adventure Tour Operators Association of India, and with TOF Tour Operators for Tigers, we made guidelines for small hotels. Because the five-star hotels are already set. They have somebody else doing it for them. So we told them, how can you sanitize your rooms? How can you clean? How can you space out your tables? What should be the cleaning protocol? What should be the time your room should be blocked? 24 hours, leave it empty. What kind of products can you use on what surface? Because again, all products, bleach and all can't be used on wood or natural stones. It's going to ruin your investment. You can't go and change your flooring, your Italian marble after 2-3 weeks of doing pocha on it, right? So coming to that, we figured out that we'll make these protocols. So that was number one. We came out, we distributed it to the whole industry. Secondly, it comes to training your staff. You have to understand that people who are working for you, they are not all from hotel school backgrounds or from MBA schools or who live in a home environment where they clean and sanitize how city people do. So you have to train them. You have to train them about keeping distance from one another. Number two, avoiding body contact. If they are not well, letting them know, reassuring them that, listen, if you're not coming to work today, it's all right. Your salary is not going to be cut. Because the minute you tell them your salary is getting cut, they'll be like, no, it's just a cold. Can be corona. Telling them to monitor their own environment, their own engagements, family coming to meet them, because again, they're coming to your place of work, and they're going to be interacting with your guests. So again, certain protocols have to be put in place. So we underwent a 2-month training for all our staff, how to use the products, how to greet the guests, how to keep distance. And of course, then we started with our operations on the 15th of this month. Now, what have we seen? What was important here? Making things contactless. The government rule says that you have to come sign a register. You still have to sign a register. How do you make it contactless? Luckily, AI technology has supported us. If you notice, going back to the day, last 30 years back, Shailendra Nigam, Professor Nigam will know, when PowerPoint came up, it was so easy to give presentations. And today, in the lockdown, all of us, Zoom has been around for quite some time. Google Teams has been around. Microsoft Team has been around. Nobody was using it because we were all meeting each other. They were interacting. But in this 3 months' time, we all have become pros in using Zoom. Again, training our team to do that. People who are from the village, who don't know what a smartphone is. They don't know what an Arogya Setu app is. How do you use it? So that training went into play. After that, sorry
to interrupt, another 2 minutes.
Yes, thank you. So coming with that, we got the training in place. And now we understood that it's very important to communicate what we have learned to our guests so that they can feel safe and secure. At the same time, it's very important that if the guest is coming in, just for good optics, you come and sanitize the car, you sanitize the bag in front of them, so they get reassured. So that's something which we put in play, and I think it's working great for us. Starting in, we're getting good numbers of rooms, and something again which we've not done is we've not cut down on our prices. Because, our cost of running the hotel, unfortunately or unfortunately, remains the same. A lot of hotels, if you see around India, they have slashed the prices, like ITC, Grand Chola selling at 35,000. You can get the room at 13,999 with all meals. We are not going for that model. So it's very important that you as a company figure out what is your strategy going forward, what is going to hurt you, what is your competition doing, what is the market doing, and of course, reaching out to the clients. Again, looking at VUCA, what I was saying earlier, in the hospitality, Volatility has been replaced with the concept of values. What are your values as an organization? It doesn't have to be about one person, it has to be for the whole organization as one. Uncertainty, fine, these are uncertain times, but I think these are great learning times. And this is the time when you have to understand. For example, how are we using understanding in our company? If a person cancels the day before, we tell them, fine, we are not going to charge you cancellation. We will allow you rescheduling of the booking. That's our understanding. We understand that if you have a family, you may have to go and use certain facilities which are not allowed. We will make leeway, but that has to be done on a case-to-case basis, right? Complexity has to be replaced with care. Care for people, care for children, care for your staff. Letting them know that you are there as a leader. As an organization, you're there to support them. Like at Vaxpol, we have not even removed a single staff. We did a salary reduction for 2 months, but today all our staff are getting full salary because they have been with us for many years, and I think they are assets. It's very hard to get a new staff and train them again. And you really, for me, my team is a family. We've grown together, and they've been a part of my growth journey. So it's very important to be there when they need us, right? And the last but not the least is for ambiguous situations, we have to adapt. Adapt for what? To achieve. See, the market is not easy. The rooms are not going to be at 100%, 80%. But the idea is to start pushing ahead with a positive, with a curve, that you are going ahead, you are going to make it work for you. And I think it's really great. Like Patrick, earlier I was getting to know from Patrick that, the rules in the state are getting easy. I was one of the first people to travel to Rishikesh the day the lockdown opened. I drove, I had a lot of challenges. We reached to a friend's property and we spoke to the government and we told them about what challenges we had at each checkpoint. Everybody's understanding of the communication was different. Somebody felt, okay, you're not allowed to have this. You're supposed to have a COVID report. Somebody said you have to quarantine here for 14 days. I was like, boss, this is not happening. So we got that streamlined. And luckily today, I'm very grateful for everybody's collective effort. The rule is completely changed. So for us at Vaxpol, we are promoting offbeat locations. And I think our biggest USP is that we have naturally distanced cottages. You can come out, you can be in a vacation, breathe fresh forest air, not be in a cooped up flat, enjoy the fresh farm picked vegetables. So that's in short what we are doing. Thank you, Professor Nigam.
Thanks. Thank you very much. It's really nice. And the acronyms which you have talked about,
yeah,
that yes, you have to adapt, you have to care, uncertainties will remain, but the values of the organization will take you through these uncertain times.
Yes.
It's something great. People should be looking forward to these aspects. And even in the individual fora, if I can have my value systems right, I can really adapt.
Yes.
And I can empathize. That can happen. But the first and foremost thing. And another thing, what you talked about, I really love the way you put it across, that everything starts from plan. And if you are right on the plan, then 80% your work is done. 20% is the operational aspect. Thank you very much. Thanks, Akansha.
Thank you so much, Professor Nigam.
May I now request Pradeep ji to share his thoughts on this?
1 second.
Yeah.
1 second.
Hi sir, I am
Sir, if it's a presentation, then Jamin can do it for you.
Yeah. So thank you so much. And I would like to, I have a PPT, small PPT. I thought I'll take just about 5 minutes to quickly go through it, because I am going to present a totally different perspective. It's not totally different, but it's obviously related to the tourism sector, but something which is not directly, as a service provider. So what we are doing is responsible tourism certification. Next slide, please. So very quickly, I'll go through it, and then So SciComm is the company which I head, and we work in different areas. And if you see the first two circles, waste management and responsible tourism, these are our focus areas. Next slide, please. Okay, our tourism related portfolio in terms of the activities we do, I thought I'll dwell a little bit on this. What we do is, we are doing with the certification is being done with Top Tigers. We are the auditors, the exclusive auditors for India, Nepal and Bhutan. And we have a team of 10 auditors who are all trained and have undergone training with GSTC. I'll be coming to that, and past examinations also with regard to that. So there is a PUG which is practice under guidance certification, which is being done in the wildlife areas. Footprint certification, which was launched about 2 years back, and this is meant for other accommodation providers. It could be, resorts or deluxe hotels, or so we made some headway in that. And now we are planning to launch a certification for the tour operators, or the DMCs as we call it. So this is to be launched very soon. We are going to launch it. GSTC certification is, I think, one feather in our cap. If I'm, because this was a thing which was achieved after 2 years of working. Global Sustainable Tourism Council. It's a UN-backed agency, and this certification is the only one from this part of the world and the only one on nature tourism, which is certified by this UN body, and it is applicable to all the certifications which we are, doing audit for along with Top Tigers. So, and this needs an upgradation every year. When we joined, it was the version 2. So every year we had to, further meet the stringent quality norms of the GSTC and comply with the criteria. So this has been one journey which I thought we must, talk about. Some of the other projects we have been associated with in tourism, like I was the environmental safeguard specialist for the World Bank project on UP Pro Poor Tourism project, which comprised of Buddha Circuit and Dutch Circuit. And basically we are working with the twin objective of making the travelers stay one more night wherever they are going. And secondly, the local communities. That was the thrust, that the livelihoods enhancement of the local communities has to be ensured. So, which I see that this is the need of the hour even today, especially in the VUCA times. The livelihood is the major issue. So this is one of the things. And then we've done some ecotourism profiling for a few districts in Uttarakhand and many other, project reports, etc. Next slide, please. Sudhindra, can I request you to, yeah.
Jamin, please, next slide.
So why tourism? Now this is, I think I would, this is a very good sector which has been chosen because arguably it is the most affected sector because of the COVID. We can go through the figures very quickly, though I think you are all aware of it. It contributes almost 9 to 10% of India's GDP, 10% of direct employment, about 43 million jobs. Each job in this sector creates an additional 10 jobs in the auxiliary sector. Could be a taxi operator, tour operator, guides, dhabas on the way, and other ancillary services. 10 times more jobs created in this sector per unit capex as compared to traditional industry. Let's say steel, and let's say 1 lakh of rupees invested in steel sector or cement. The same investment is made in the tourism sector. We create 10 more times of the job or the employment opportunities. Foreign exchange earnings, and India aspires to become third biggest travel maker by 2025. This was laid down in this year's budget, and so this becomes even more important to make this industry survive and thrive in the long run. And we have slowly moved up. We still are not like in the top rung, but we have moved up from rank 65 in 2014 to 34 in 2019 in travel and tourism competitiveness index of World Economic Forum. I would like to point out one thing. We have this figures of economic GDP contraction or the economic degrowth in this year, which has been put forward by World Bank, ADB, OECD, CRISIL, and the average figure also happens to be minus 10%. And you'll see, so this sector, if we don't take preventive measures and if we don't really help this industry out, it may, it could be a make or break situation for India as far as GDP is concerned. This is my personal feeling based on my working experience in this sector. Next. COVID impact on the sector. So there's a huge impact globally. I think other speakers have already talked about due to travel restrictions and the slump in the demand among travelers. And UN World Tourism Organization has estimated international tourist arrivals going down by 58 to 78%. Potential loss of about US dollars 1.2 trillion, which is almost half the India's GDP, almost 50% of India's GDP. Of course, this is a global figure. Various countries, Spain, Australia, China, Hungary, Singapore, Thailand, they have taken several steps with regard to job retention funds for workforces, financial support to tourism enterprises, and some policy interventions. I'm not going into the details, but there's plenty of information available on this. And Nepal, incidentally, is they're having this their tourism year, and then next year there is a tourism infrastructure year for Nepal as a country. Post-COVID trends. So what are the trends which would emerge? Domestic tourism revival first, as Akansha ji also pointed out, and Government of India has come out with in this budget actually, they have come out with Dekho Apna Desh. That is one scheme they have launched. Of course, it is yet to be implemented, with the full gusto, but this is one thing which would happen faster than obviously the international tourism. And there would be emphasis on customized packages. This is being borne out by the fact, as it emerges from China. Maybe it is not a good, example to say, but China is doing a lot of this customized packages because they are probably the first country to come back to normal in terms of tourism. And safe destinations and measures for hygiene and safety. This is very important. And this also leads to what Akansha ji mentioned about a protocol, which has been developed and adopted by the entire industry now. And this has a big impact on especially among the domestic travelers as well as the foreign travelers when they start traveling. Offbeat destination which promote social distancing, such as wildlife, wellness retreats, mountaineering, and trekkers. This would be the flavor of the day as soon as the COVID thing ends, and so we'll probably have more people rushing to these rather than. I would also prefer to go to a wildlife destination rather than going to Mumbai or Chennai or Kolkata, for my holidays, for example. Anybody in our shoes. Next. So what we have done, we have, as I mentioned, we are working on a certification oriented thing, and now I feel, and this is also the call from the industry, that the certification is becoming more and more important, and in fact it's becoming a necessity. If you want to invite your travelers to come and stay with you, they have to be assured, they have to be given assurance from a third party or an independent certification body, which tells them, yes, this lodge or this resort or this accommodation provider has taken all measures. So we have done is we have incorporated COVID preparedness in addition to the environmental, social, and economic criteria, which was already there. So we have actually 84 criteria. To this, we have added COVID preparedness criteria also in the change scenario. Greater need for certification by an independent body. I just mentioned this because you need some external independent body to validate, which follows the international norms, to validate safety, hygiene, and security issues. And otherwise, nobody would travel to your destination or your accommodation. Certifications have been what we have been doing, have been earlier very popular, especially with the discerning foreign tourists. Of course, the domestic tourists are not taking it equally seriously because it instills additional confidence in them about the accommodation providers. One thing I just wanted to share with you, there are some countries when there are group tours happening, if there is a certified lodge or a resort, which is so if they are traveling to those lodges, the insurance costs which the group the group has to pay to the insurance company goes down. So this is one of the findings where while we are interacting with our foreign travelers and the various interactions we keep having. And similarly, there has been yeah, and so the complete what we are trying to achieve now is we are going in for a certification for the DMCs, tour operators. DMCs are the destination management companies or tour operators, and this would be launched soon because they are a important link in the entire chain. So this criteria has been developed. We are doing pre-testing and it will be launched with Top Tigers and another foreign group. So, but since it is not launched, I can't talk much about it. So we hope to cover all the aspects in the times to come, which would make a accommodation provider have more confidence in their, in they're talking to their the prospective travelers about the measures they have taken and which has been validated by an independent body. Next. So as part of this, we are for a limited duration of time, what we have done is we are switching to digital audits, virtual audits. There was an industry demand for certification and there was no other way because we can't travel. I have a team of 10 auditors who are qualified, who have each one of them would have done about at least 20 to 50 audits, and they have passed a very strenuous examination. They have undergone training with GSTC, and I'm heading that team. So, but now we are switching to digital auditing process at least for next 8 to 9 months. And this is also what has been recommended by GSTC for a limited period, stretching up to March, April next year. So there is an intensive training for auditors on this new mode, and we are developing the tools and structures which are already done now. COVID preparedness and other sustainability aspects are being taken care of. Initially, what we had done is, so accommodation provider has to go in for re-audits every 3 years. So what we thought, it may not be worthwhile because we have to do it for the re-audits and the smaller lodges initially. For re-audits, we have made it mandatory that one of the members who was part of the earlier audit team would need to be present for the virtual audit. Next. Thank you. So this is basically a snapshot of the work we do. It's a little different, but I think this will gain even more prominence in the times to come. And the updated versions of GSTC, which we have to comply with, we are constantly working on that. And it is still not mandatory by Ministry of Tourism in India. I'm sure one day it will become mandatory because we need to generate more confidence in all travelers, both domestic and foreign travelers. So we are constantly working on this. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Pradeep ji. Thank you very much for enlightening us with this new aspect of GSTC, that is Global Sustainable Tourism Council certification. Yes, it is much more be aware among the industry, but in general, people are not aware about this aspect. But yes, one major thing which I see from what these things you have shared, that as part of a human psyche, we always trust third-party versions. That's a human psyche. If something is being said by parents to kids, they are not trusting them. They are not really accepting it. But if their friends say something, yes, the same thing might be too appealing to them. That's how the human psychology works. Because the people who are closest to you, you take it for granted, all of them. That's how it happens. So third-party certification will definitely help in enhancing the trust factor among the tourists, whether it is domestic or foreign tourist. And you rightly said that it is going to be offbeat destinations. That's what is going to be the flavor in the near future. Manav, so thank you very much, Pradeep. So Manav must be gunning for it that yes, the flavor is, and he is ready for 1st October, first Pagdandi after the COVID. Yes, Manav?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, in a way, so the thing is that even when tourism starts, the basic foundation still remains a bit shaky.
Yes.
Because you still have to travel, you still have to deal with COVID. And a lot of people are very optimistic about domestic. It is not wrong to be optimistic about domestic, but domestic travels in a certain fashion.
Yes.
As Indians, we travel with families, with our young ones. We travel only on long weekends. We travel for Dussehra. We travel for New Year's. Unlike the European market, which travels throughout the year. So there is only a certain reach we can have with domestic. We cannot replace inbound with domestic. So that is not going to happen.
Have your thoughts. The next, you are in line, Manav.
Oh, okay.
I was using that opportunity to hand over the platform to you.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity. It's indeed a privilege to be here. So coming straight to VUCA, I do not give much importance to it because this was always there. It is there and it is always going to remain. All the different generations have had different challenges. Now coming specifically to the hospitality industry, for me, there is no volatility, there is no ambiguity, there is no uncertainty. It is absolutely clear that we are in a mess. So there is certainty, there is no business, there is certainty, we are pushed to the ground, we are against the wall. So there is only one thing, we can only go ahead, we cannot go backwards. So that is the certainty and that's the good note about it. Now, so it's a little difficult with the hospitality industry because our industry involves people to travel and come physically. Unlike what we are doing with IMI, we cannot take it virtual. You have to come and be on a safari with us. So what are we doing? What is Pagdandi doing? I'll move to that specific. So, there is not one silver bullet. So we have to do a lot of small things to get over this crisis. So the first thing we are working on is setting realistic goals. That what is that we can achieve? What we have done in the past, we have to unlearn a lot and we have to learn less. Unlearning is also very important in this part because till we unlearn what we've been doing for 20 years or what our fathers have been doing it, we are not going to adapt. So that is, we are setting realistic goals in Pagdandi. That is one thing. The second, which Akanksha also mentioned, is we are reassuring the customer that it is safe to travel. And we are taking care of the safety standards. And not only reassurance, we genuinely as an industry have to build good standards. Because if we do not build good standards, see, confidence is the only thing which will make people travel. And if we are not able to build good standards, that confidence will go and our industry as a whole will suffer. We have to continue connecting with our customer through digital platforms, through Instagram, Facebook. We have to come out with more compelling storytelling about our places, what they can do, what the ground situation is, because today the ground situation is also different. Himachal has different rules, Central India has different rules, Uttarakhand has different rules. So great storytelling and connection with the customer is even more important. So also creating a leaner organization, downsizing, right sizing is the buzzword. But I feel there are better ways of downsizing. So what we have adopted is we have restructured, we have reduced the salaries, we have spoken to all our partners, we have spoken to our team members, and we're trying to meet the requirements of everyone. Because long after the customer has traveled, he forgets the price. He forgets the quality of the bed. He remembers the way you treated him. And our industry is not only hardware, it is also software. And it is more important for us to protect our team, take our team along with us. And as Akansha also said, we work in remote areas, so we are physically not there. So our team is our family. They are the ones who are there, who are actually running the show for us. So we are also, the fifth point for us is we are also overhauling all our processes. We didn't stop working during the COVID time. We looked at all the processes, and I'm ashamed to say some of the processes we were following were really vintage. And I can easily say a lot of other companies are also following the same. So we've made some changes. We've got more technology in, we've got more cloud-based systems in, and we are trying to reduce manual intervention and speed up the process with the given times. So I'm sure you guys you must have read about the bridge over river Chaluteka. If some of them have missed, so in 1996, in Central America, they wanted to build a bridge over this river. So they hired a Japanese company, which in 2 years delivered the best bridge, something they were really proud of, something like a Sea Link in Mumbai or Vidyasagar Setu in Calcutta over the Hooghly. And the bridge was doing very well, and then came a hurricane. And there were floods, over 7,000 people died in the hurricane. After the hurricane, they realized the road leading to the bridge and the road leading away from the bridge had washed away. But that was a simple solution to fix, because you could fix the road. But they also realized that the river had stopped flowing under the bridge. It was flowing besides the bridge. So the bridge was completely redundant. This has also happened, in our industry. Just about 15, 20 years back, we used to have a lot of ticketing agents, air ticketing agents. And to be a ticketing agent was something of pride. They were affluent. Rajiv Chowk, Connaught Place was full of ticketing agents, and they used to make a lot of money. When ticketing went online, a lot of people did not adapt to it. They were reluctant to that, and all of them had to phase out. Some of them who adapted to the change because they understood the industry, they understood that the airlines is the future, have stakes in the new airlines which are in India. So adapting to the situation is one thing which is very, very important. So in Pagdandi, we've also created many packages. We've launched something called Work from Wilderness back in August. So which is inspired from vocation. And we've had great success. We've already had over 150 room nights where people are coming and working from wilderness. We call it WFW, Work from Wilderness. And hopefully we're promoting it in a big way. So we are hoping that more and more customers will join, because we have to relook how we were doing business. So there is a lot of talk of new normal. The change is more exaggerated by our beloved media. Change is not a new norm, and COVID has only got the attention on it. A Greek philosopher almost 500 years back, 500 years before BC, said the only constant in life is change. So that is also today. So friends, embrace change, adapt, smile, and move on. The world is your oyster. Life is too great to be stopped by a small virus. Thank you.
Great, Mark. I really love the phrase you used, work from wilderness. And that is what this young generation will really love. You have to reach out. Yes, you have to change as a marketing director for Pagdandi. You have to change with regards to reaching out to your customer. Your universe has changed. That is what has happened. Like the river has actually changed its path after the hurricane, and so the bridge has no meaning for the river now. So the same applies for you also, or for that matter in the tourism sector. That yes, we need to search for disruptive options with regards to what new can happen and what will be your new normal. It is not what is being talked about by the media. And the other thing what I really liked is that you have to unlearn the past and learn a little only. So if you can, maybe I might be wrong, but I'm getting tempted to share that if you can minimize, or maybe Akansha, you, Perkin, everyone, what I personally feel, if you can tweak your marketing to the customer universe, which is much more close knit, much more already known, things might work much faster for you people. That is what, because spending on even on social media may not be the outcome. Inbound tourism, when it will happen, policy matters, you never know. But remember one thing, what I personally feel, that with these 6 months, 17th March was the last day when I went to IMI officially as a full-time day professor there. Clear? And from that day till today, 6 months has passed. Everyone is getting frustrated. My students are getting frustrated. We are taking online classes, and every single day when I interact with them, I hear from them, sir, IMI वापस कब बुला रहे हो? So everyone is longing to get out of their comforts of home. But yes, they have fears. So they will be moving in short distances with their own vehicles only, not the public transport. So if you are in a position to provide those alternatives of wilderness, you have the business. And that's how things are. Thank you very much, Manav. Maybe I thought I'll use this opportunity to share some of my thoughts also. Can I now request Mohan Das ji? Palan Sahab.
Am I audible to all of you?
Yes, yes.
Okay, greetings to you all. And I thank you, IMI, for giving me this opportunity to speak about the Hospitality Summit. And also I thank you for all the beloved students who made these arrangements with this summit. I thank you, Professor Nigam, for a warm welcome to me.
My pleasure.
I won't talk much about COVID-19 because everybody is living in a fear globally. So we have to come out of the fear. So it's like rain may come, rain may go. Season comes and goes. COVID came and COVID will go. Let's be all optimistic. Let's start breathing. As a marketing and sales and marketing person, I can only feel this. Coming to the hospitality, I'm very much fascinated by this word, hospitality. I'm much more fascinated by the industry too, because the hospitality is derived from the Latin word hospitalitum, which means friendliness to guest. So it is not hard to see where the word hospitality comes from. Basically, I will just share my experience about hospitality. The hospitality is the relationship between a guest and a host, where the host receives the guest with goodwill, including reception, entertainment of guests, visitors, and strangers. I believe hospitality started home is nothing but serving one another with love, which I really experienced in my life. Why am I in this industry? So I've been in this industry for last 20 to 24 years, serving the hospitality industry. At times I feel, why am I in this industry? I used to feel when I was a young boy, my mother used to come and give me a cup of tea when I get up in the morning. Now my wife comes and gives me a cup of coffee when I get up in the morning. So it's all serving the essence of hospitality is everywhere. It's not only in the hotels, it's not only in the resorts, because it is everywhere. You take up any industry, you take insurance industry, everywhere the essence of hospitality is there. I would like to share a small incident in my life, in my beginning of my career. I used to work for a soft drink company for a very short period. I was working as a clerk inside. And I just finished my college that time. And there are a lot of friends used to come and meet me in the company. So whenever they used to come, I used to serve them with a soft drink. Because I was working for a soft drink company, which is the makers of Thumbs Up, the Gold Spot, Limca, and other things. They used to really feel good about it. And Thanksgiving, I used to feel good about it, the kind of happiness I used to get while serving. This is the basic reason I decided to be in the hospitality industry. Then I got into a company where I used to sell dreams, where I used to sell locations, where I used to sell the time sharing. I used to sell dreams to the people, thereby fulfilling their dreams to visit the locations. That was something very wonderful thing, meeting people and selling their dreams. I was there for a longer period, and I moved on to clubbing industry, where I used to sell club membership. This is another sector where I had to meet new people, sell club membership, and becoming personalized with them, the day-to-day activities, meeting them, selling the membership to the celebrities, all other things. From there, serving there for almost 10 years in the clubbing industry, I moved on to the hotel industry. This is another sector of hospitality. I've been working in the hotel industry for the last 8 years. Currently, I'm with Emerald Group of Hotels for the last 5 years. This is another place where we used to meet many people. The new people, new challenges, bringing them the business, the corporate business to the hotel, the conferencing, serving them. This gives me, I believe, a lot of happiness. The hospitality industry is really what is booming. The globally I'm talking about. But it's only because of current situation, COVID, the industry has been dried down, but slowly it is going to breathe again. So I'm going to share a little bit of the hospitality, the kind of a hospitality sector we have, the industry we have, like the different kind of industry, types of hospitality, like lodging and hotels. There is F&B business where they serve food with the services as a restaurant, cafes, bars, caterers. There's an industry called health and sports industry. There is an entertainment industry in the hospitality. So these are all the part of the industries. So being a part of this industry, I feel very proud. And also I feel there are certain tips I can share to the students, how we can be excellent hospitality guest services, how one can be excellent in this industry. In this industry, certain things we have to follow, certain norms, certain qualities we need to possess. I believe a smile is the one most important thing. A smile alone does not guarantee excellent customer service, doesn't guarantee. But excellent customer service almost always starts with a smile. This one thing is always required. Then if you are in the hospitality sector, if you are in a team, then support your team, then have a perfect presentation. Perfect presentation, I don't mean to say that it's a DVD presentation or something. It's like a present yourself. Your attire should be perfect. Then always listen to the guest needs. Always be helpful. Show some initiatives. Deal with any kind of a complaints. Always go the extra mile. These are something really, really needed in the hospitality industry. to be a successful in this industry, you need to possess all these qualities. I won't take much time this session actually because almost all have shared a good things. I really thank you all the panelists share good things, and I end with this my experiences. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mohanalji. Good. So what Mohanalji was talking about is the warmth what the hospitality industry provides, and if we can really live up to that, the actual Latin meaning of hospitality, we really can see things happening in near future also. Thank you very much, Mohandas ji. Thanks a lot. Fine. So may I now request Mr. Perkin to share his thoughts. I know that Mr. Perkin is waiting for almost now an hour to have his chance to share his thoughts.
I think good afternoon. In fact, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening. I think we started in good afternoon. We are almost we into good evening.
Yeah, that's fine.
So,
but you're at an advantage position, Mr. Perkins. You have already heard people talking about so many things from so many diverse aspects. So you can really add on to those things. And
no, I think all my industry colleagues what they spoke right now, I think it really makes an impact. I think they all are individual, of course, with different backgrounds and learnings, and whatever they said is absolutely true.
Yes.
Mr. Patrick Kerr, of course, the senior most, one of the veterans, of course, what he did, what we are doing right now. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would divide this the entire thing or into three parts. One is, of course, the impact the COVID-19 has taken on hospitality overall. Secondly, what are the four key drivers, which is currently very volatile. And I agree with Manav very, on, he says, VUCA is always been a part of hospitality, whether COVID or non-COVID, it is always part of hospitality. So now let me take you back on to 26/11 attacks. When it happened, of course, and 9/11 attacks in America, the travel format changed. The entire world looked at different formats. So, if anyone can answer what happened after 9/11 attacks, how did the travel change? Any one of you can answer this. It's a simple thing we changed. Students, after 9/11 attacks in America, the travel changed.
If somebody wants to answer, they can unmute and answer, please.
So security check.
Exactly. Thank you so much.
Security
Thank you.
Yes,
absolutely. So the security changed. So so the security norms were formed in India and said, we want to have a baggage scanner, we want to have underneath, car scanner, TFT screens. So everything changed, and the norm changed. The travel norms changed. And today, of course, we are going to a cycle again of COVID-19, which will last for some time, gentlemen. And post this, what is happening is we are talking about hygiene. So this is a new form of travel now. So after security, the hygiene will be a key feature. It's not that we don't do hygiene in hotels. Yes, we will follow very, very strict norms of sanitizing, disinfecting rooms. So today, wearing masks, gloves, it will all form into being. Now, as estimated by industry solvers and the reports we said, there is a cumulative loss of 90,000 crores in 2020. And I would divide this into three parts. In organized sector, it's roughly about 40,000 crores. In semi-organized, it's around 8,300 crores, and unorganized sector is around 41,000 crores. So these are the figures, of course, which has been picked up, of course, from the industry. The occupancy level in 2040 has fallen to roughly around 32%, with revenue per available room down by 57%. So there's a fall which happened. The rebound which has happened right now. So as I said, I was talking to Akansha, I was saying that, I will talk about state by state. So roughly at group level, we have come back to a somewhat 24-25% occupancy, and this is what the industry is now picking up. And a RevPAR is just shy away from 1,000 rupees, 1,000 basically. Now, which are the cities which are performing now? So So we have hotels in Pan India. We operate with 60 hotels in India. So I will start with from top to bottom. J&K is closed down, so nothing's happening there. We have lovely hotel in Srinagar. Punjab, of course, we have 3 hotels. All hotels are doing well, so we have always come back. The industry has bound back to a 40% sub level. I'm talking about in Punjab, which is Chandigarh, Zirakpur, Ludhiana, and Amritsar. Coming back to Rajasthan, we are somewhat 30% in most of hotels. Our leisure destinations currently we currently have shut down, but now currently we are opening our leisure destination gradually and coming back. And similarly, of course, when moving to west towards Mumbai, Ahmedabad, so these are all around sub 35-40% level. I will come back on the last slide on the last talk with what are we doing as an organization. So this is what I'm talking about industry. Now, what are the key 4 sectors, which are key challenges in India, of course, especially with hospitality. Now, please understand, hotel is a very, very complex business in India. Hotels and operating resorts. Firstly, the gestation period is very, very long. That's number 1. Number 2 is multiple windows of clearance. There's no single window clearance. So currently, what's happening is the 4 key factors which is working against the hotel sector today is, which is hotel demand is totally has vanished. It's very highly discretionary because of absence of air travel, corporate restrictions, cancellation of holidays, state lockdowns, imposition of quarantine of travelers. That's number 1. Number 2 is 70% hotels costs are fixed in nature, mostly towards payroll expenses and government levies. Hotel capital incentives with a long gestation where debts offered is typically very short-term and high-cost renting with a sector highly sensitive to demand destruction. And secondly and last, basically, is the negative outlook of the industry, which has made it unattractive lenders lending into a liquidity crunch and increased rate of interest, and which is covered for the perceived risk, basically. Now, of course, the government has come in between. Government has offered moratorium to us, but again, with GST, PF, ESI, income tax, GST waivers, of course, for some time. But again, this will not help. Of course, as rightly said, we contribute to 10% of the total GDP. And if I take our Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji's speech on Independence Day in 2019, and first time I ever seen since the time I've been watching the Independence Day speech of the of various prime ministers. He first spoke about travel and hotels in India in 2019. He says that the country has so vast experience that if all of you travel at different levels, and of course the government has to build in infrastructure. I said our industry will boom and industry will be like Atmanirbhar Bharat. Now, what is current building? For example, as soon as the lockdown opened up, so what happened basically in most of hotels, what usually impacted was marriages and conventions. So corporate conventions are totally shut down because there's no corporate travel. But people who could not, the marriages were postponed because the lockdown started from 21st of March, and April, May, June are our big side dates. So a lot of people and a lot of couples were supposed to get married. Everything got postponed. And as soon as we opened hotels in most of our hotels, which opened up with 25% hotels opened up in different regions, we saw a huge upsurge of people coming and getting married. Whether 50 people, initially was a 50 people, law that you can't go above 50. Now, of course, has become 100. So today, what we see is basically is that our business has reversed, and we also have done a lot of thought and process as a company. We are targeting a lot of marriages, and we're concentrating on the segment, and marriages, of course, is a very, very huge unorganized segment in India. So we're ensuring that we spend a lot of amount of money on marriages to ensure that we pick up those 50 and 100 people marriages across pan India, and we are getting a very, very nice response and kind of queries we have in pipeline we build up. Secondly, we looked, we said, a lot of corporates have started, they're not traveling basically, so what's going to happen now? So we said, what is the key sector? If you see during this sector, if you see the share price of market, today the pharma is one industry which has gone up because today everybody is in a process, in a race of making a vaccine. And today, if you pick up any pharma stock, I was reading a pharma stock of Sun Pharma. They are about 80% higher to the normals. Now today, pharma is the biggest business today. We are targeting as a company, as a segment, we're targeting this pharma company because this pharma company will come out to do a lot of training, and this will be a survival point for us. Number three is during this time, you must have heard of a lot of multi-level marketing groups. So there are a lot of MLM groups which. So we have, instead of going towards a regular business, which is corporate and travel agents, we said we want to target MLMs, and we have targeted huge MLMs. And there are huge multi-level marketing companies which do huge events. And this one event in 15 days or a month time can give you anywhere between 2,000 to 5,000 room night at a stretch. You're done. So this is how we have rethought about our business, and this is how we have returned into a business. Now, so what we have done as a company. So we took with our chairman and founder, Mr. Chandra Balji. So of course he was driving the efforts, and we as a stakeholders, as a part of the group at different level. What we did during this lockdown is, professionally, we said we're going to revive all our standard operating procedures, and we worked on SOPs gradually. So that's the time we utilized. And because during the time, of course, hotels are busy. It was so that means in a month and a half, 2 months, we finished all SOPs. We rejigged the entire our website. That was the constructive thing we did, and we linked our website with something called experiences. So if you go on a website, you'll find something, a column called each hotel, what kind of experience the hotel is going to give that. And thirdly, of course, we thought, of course, hygiene is going to be a big factor. So what are we supposed to do? So we did a lot of thoughts. So we divided hygiene into 3 parts. One is at the time of a guest coming into main porch, right? Check-in, rooms, and of course the coffee shop or restaurants. So what we said is, instead of aiming the gun at you and taking the temperature, which is not which we say not even about 2-3 feet, and again you still have a high risk of getting infected. We got a product from a company called Zycom, and I said, you do a self test. So it's like we guest on the main porch. We direct the guest. He puts his he puts his hand there and palm there, of course, and the machine is able to track his temperature, and the temperature is high. So we of course we take him to a isolated zone. I say your temperature is high. Now we talk to them and we say, hey, what we have done when. In fact, a lot of guests gets angry. Why you're taking us? We have just come from outside. We wait again for 10 minutes. We again take a temperature check, and if temperature again is above the below, of course, at the type temperature which is prescribed by the government of India, we don't allow check-ins at all. And we are very, very clear in the confirmation letters that if you are checking in and if you found that your temperature is above 98.9 centigrade Fahrenheit, you will not be allowed to enter the hotel. Basically, we reserve the right. And this, if you go, we have made sure that on all the OTAs, which is online travel agent platforms, and plus all our reservations forms, we are making it very, very clear, because we have to ensure that our guests, they are safe, our employees are safe. So that's one reason we're doing. So that's number one. That's check number one we're doing. Check number two is that at the time of check-in, we have every guest is being giving a context. Today, of course, Akansha spoke about artificial intelligence. We have already have all our hotels and currently are currently getting implemented with contactless check-ins. So he gets a link. He offers he checks in and his keys are immediately given. He selects a room number, goes. We just hand over the key to him. That's number. So there's no physical sign. He uploads his details like Aadhaar card, driving license. Everything is done there. So we are avoiding. It's just a communication between the guests. So he's physically not signing any registration form. That's number two. Number three is, we thought when he goes to room. So now, guys, gentlemen, you traveled, of course, you traveled to hotel a lot of time. So we said, what are the key touch points in the room? Now, key touch points in the rooms are the door when you open up. So as soon as you go to the hotel, what do you do, guys? First thing, I go to the hotel, I open the minibar. I check the menu, what is in the minibar, and I start picking up the stuff and look at the prices, whether I want to have it or not have it. Right? So, and I keep it back most of the time. So, so that's the touch point. That's the major touch point. And then, so of course, most of the bed sheets and bed throws and bed runners, they after every check-in, they go for wash. But what does not go for wash, is the cushion covers, right? The cushion covers and bed runners, because they're there. So we said we don't want to do that. Thirdly, all hotels, we have implemented the dispensers with shampoo, conditioner, and soaps, and we removed all the physical toothbrushes, anything. So that means we have removed the minibar, and we say, and instead of doing a minibar, so it helps. So everything was formed very, very strategically. We said we'll remove your minibar. So one thing will happen there is that there is no wastage, there's no stealing there. You're controlled on your cost, and we created a tent card called create your own minibar, and we kept them. So when the guest like, hey, there's no minibar, and you can create 8 minibar. So he called up the housekeeping. He said, I want to have these items. So we punch in, we take it, and we keep it outside his door, and he signs it. So today, so most of the ambiguity happens today at the checkout. Guest says, I have not consumed this item, right? So today, of course, guests may be not be telling the truth, but again, we've been taught in industry the guest is always right, so we can't argue there. So that eliminated this. Our waste has gone totally zero, right? The staff having minibars or taking minibars has gone zero, and we're controlling our cost there. And it's a great idea, of course, and we know what is the fast-moving item, and we're keeping a track on that. Number two, of course, we remove the bed throws because that's the frequent item being used, because we can't sanitize because our manpower is so expensive today, of course, and we're working reduced manpower. And we have removed the cushions. So rooms are just bare. Room will not show, when you enter any of our hotels, room will not show you a designer cushions or a bed throw in the room. So it's just your plain bed sheet, because they'll get washed. We have removed the entire toiletries from the room. So we did something called missing something. So we created a sticker called missing something, and we said you're missing something: toothbrush, dental kit, shaving kit, XYZ, and call extension store to have this. So what again happened again? Today, of course, if you go to any staff lockers, junior staff locker, you find most of the shaving kits and soaps in their lockers rather than guest rooms. So that's a point where they utilize it, and of course it goes for all the toss. It is all stopped. The wastage is stopped. The dispensers are coming. So these are some critical thought points we did basically. So we're not serving anything in the room. Now coming back to the coffee shops are closed. Anything they have to use, they have to call up the room service, and room service has to deliver. Now, something very uniquely we did as a company we did, and I want to share this on this platform. I have been sharing this on a lot of platforms today, and the future today, of course, when you travel to Europe and US, you get this quick meals. Now, what is this quick meals? You get packed meals. You put water, you take it up, you warm it up at certain temperature. Your meals ready to eat. So today, a company like Kitchens of India, ITC, MTR of the world, they all do this quick meals. So we said, and the shelf life is anywhere between minimum shelf life is 240 days to 540 days. We were working on a lower staff. We were working lower staffs. We were working with mid-level staff, mid-level team basically, which are good to do a warming again and do a saute basically and present the food. So it helped. So we created a menu out of the convenience menu, and we created a small quick menu. And these are quick menu basically. Normally within 10 minutes. You take the food out, you warm it, just to make sure the food is slightly more tastier. We do a slight of garnishing, and we saute the meal, and the food is ready. It helps us in two things. Firstly, reducing our what you call gas, which is energy, because it reduced our raw material costs, because your raw materials like your groceries, your vegetables came down because nothing was used. And thirdly, the manpower, because today, you do not require a high qualified chef to do cooking. A Commi 1, a Commi 2, a Commi 3 can do that same job for you. So it overall, and your shelf life for this material is 540 days. So this is, as I said, anywhere between a year to 3 years. So it's saved in all your items basically. So as a company, we took this following steps, and of course, we all have been hit very adversely here. Today, of course, we are connected with the hotels are connected with airlines and travel industry. And today, till the time the travel revives and gradually, which is reviving back, which I was giving figure to Akansha, that the August domestic travel showed 68% growth in the load factor of most of the domestic airlines, And from a 33% usage of the aircraft, they have come back to 45% now. So these are figures which is off lately, which I'm sharing you. Now, what are the challenges for the domestic hotel groups, basically? So domestic hotel groups could be Royal Orchid, Lemon Tree, Sorovos of the world. Now, our 80% business is domestic. Because, and today, of course, if you see, if I go back to my college days and to now, everybody wants to travel in India today. Everybody wants to. Today, the travel norms have changed in India. Whether somebody earns 15,000 rupees to 25,000 rupees to 50,000 rupees to a lakh rupees, you have got hotels, resorts, guest houses, lodges to accommodate them at each destination. And everybody wants to travel. So for us, for a company which is purely homegrown, and most of the hotel, I'm talking about domestic companies which are purely homegrown, our 80% market is the domestic market, and domestic market was booming in India, before COVID, basically. Now, what's the challenge with us basically going forward is, now you see most of the international companies, their domicile mix versus international domestic ratio is 60-40. But our domicile versus ratio is of Indians versus foreigners is 80-20. Now, what they're going to do is, and what is happening right now is the price war. Now, this price war is happening between the domestic companies and the international companies because they're eating into our own pie, because they know the domestic tourism in India will grow, and people are. So if you go to Jaipur, if you go to have a look at hotels in Rajasthan, you'll get a Marriott or a JW or a Hilton at a similar rate like at Royal Orchid or any domestic chain in Rajasthan. Yeah. So just for example. So that's that's going to be the key factor. But we personally believe, of course, as a company, we've been very, very optimistic. And I think all of us has gone to a cycle. I think, you must have learned the cycle of business. There's a down cycle, there's a mid cycle, and there's a high cycle. So currently the cycle is, we've gone to the, from a recession time in 2008, when the Lehman Brothers and everything fall back again, the cycle took up, and now we are coming back. So I think we are in the recession right now, and we're going to come back very, very strongly. As a country, we're going to come very, very strongly because with the stable government, of course, today the best part of India is that our 75% of workforce is between 25 to 25 years. We have a very, very young workforce. For example, when I was with Lemon Tree Hotels, I used to handle Indian Army very, very closely, as a whole portfolio. Because I as a child I wanted to join Indian Army, I want to serve the country, but I could not anyhow. So when I used to meet the foreign delegations of the colonels, brigadiers coming in over with so typically an average colonel in Indian Army is between 35 to 40 years old, and a colonel anyway, because I'm talking about in Europe, is anywhere between 50 plus. So you understand the power India has today. India has the power of the youth, and I think you guys are the face today. And then I think we are not so old, of course. I'm including myself, Kansha and Manav and Pradeep ji and Patrick ji, all of us today. I think you all have to stand up today. It's just a matter of time. We also believe jo aayega wo jayega. I think the COVID will come and vanish very, very quickly. And I think October onwards, I'm very positive that things are looking slightly better. But we have to stay with it for some time till the time the vaccine comes in. Most of the countries are now opening up. The travel is open. The travel is increasing. I think it's the only time that international travel starts coming in. I think things will be better in control. But overall, as you see, the industry, what was 6 months back and now, I think it's a slight relief. But I think starting October, which is Q4 of this financial year, will slightly come better. And I personally see starting from Jan mid onwards till March, I think there'll be a revival back. But you minus this year. So I wish God could have also minus the age this year also. So because this year is totally gone. But we personally believe, I think as soon as the vaccine hits the market, anytime very soon, which I don't think so will happen unless till March next year, I think things will come back to normal. So that's it from my side, Professor Nigam. I think
thanks a lot. You really shared certain things which Royal Orchid has been doing and which are out of the box ways of looking at. And one of the key aspects what you looked at is using this time for cost rationalization in a very classic manner. And that can really minimize your pains. That would have.
And what we have done, Professor, I think, as we rightly said, there are a lot of companies have laid off employees. So that's not, we have not laid off. We have done leave without pays, basically. Basically part of the system. But
Okay.
as soon as starting 2 months back, I think June 8th onwards, at the first lockdown opened up, what most of the hotel companies are doing is that they're getting 25% of the workforce on a rotation basis. You understand rotation?
Yes.
So that means if you have 100 in a month, we'll do all the 100, but again they will get only paid for the days they work. At least so
Yes.
I think they have something to earn with. You understand?
Yes.
So this is what we're doing, and I think most of the hotel companies are doing this.
Fine. Thanks a lot. Thank you. In fact, it was so engrossing that my student organizers were asking me again and again that, sir, you have not looked at the watch, because there were so many things that I also lost track of time. And that's happened with a couple of you, because it was so enriching for all of us that, yes. So I will not take much of a time. I was thinking of doing a summation, but I will skip on that aspect. We are already done with the time, but I will still like my students to question you people. Sudhin, if we can straight away go to the students.
Yes, sir. We have 2 questions. Devendra will be asking them to.
And then put the name of the panelist also from whom the question is, to whom the question is addressed.
Yes, sir.
Fine? Yeah.
So the first question is for Akansha ma'am. Chandanesh, you can go ahead with your question.
Hi, Chandanesh.
Hello, ma'am. Good evening. Good evening to all the panelists. First of all, let me thank you for the very insightful experience that we have from your discussion. So, ma'am, my question to you is, ma'am, you have talked about how the security measures are being undertaken by the hoteliers. Ma'am, don't you think the customers are not yet convinced yet, as far as, given the number of cases rising, how the customers have still certain qualms. They still have certain thoughts whether to go and travel, and let alone book a hotel. So, ma'am, how do you think this reassurance will reach to the customers, and how the government initiative, if any, is going to help as far as the increasing customer count is concerned?
See, honestly, if you ask me, yes, the customers are scared because most of the organizations are doing cost cutting and they're using sanitizers, which are 60%, and a sanitizer which you're getting at 75%. They all have a different reaction time. And this cost cutting is actually one of the main reasons why Corona is spreading. Today, if you get a 75, I'll just go into a little detail here. If you get an alcohol-based sanitizer with glycerol and hydrogen peroxide and so on mixed in it, the 75% actually reacts with your skin and it stays on your surface for 10 seconds. So if you're rubbing your hands for 20 seconds, in 10 seconds, the alcohol is evaporated. Okay, you need a contact time of 6 seconds to work as per WHO guidelines. Now, a 60% alcohol, which is available in the market, needs a contact time of 10 minutes to kill the virus. But what is happening is, because of the atmospheric temperature, the alcohol is evaporating within a minute. So that's one. Number 2, there's a concept of gloves which has come out. If you're wearing gloves, you will not get Corona. I am completely against it because it's not a responsible, it's not a sustainable way to go forward. Today, if you're wearing gloves, you're touching your nose, people are not realizing you're touching many surfaces and not sanitizing your hand. So that has been a challenge. So we as an organization are completely saying a big no to gloves because you're going to be more cautious to wash your hands and so on. For the guests, it's very, again, important that you talk about it. You have optics. The customers want to know when the room is going to get sanitized. So we have designed certain protocols and checklists in the room, which we will be communicating with guests also. We are maintaining a back end with the housekeeping team as well to know when the sanitization is being done. Because today, what happens is people think कि अगर mask जो पहना है ना, नाक से नीचे पहन लिया ना, तो उनको कोरोना नहीं होगा. people are still not very clear कि corona होता क्या है. A lot of people are buying single layer masks. Sorry, the minute the mask is wet, it's not helping you. It's a very strong contaminant. You need to get rid of it. You need to wear a fresh one. We are encouraging. Second thing, how do you handle a mask? It's very important to educate the client again. Because what people do, you're adjusting it, right? I don't need to sanitize my hand, but maybe somebody had sneezed or something, and you're then digging your nose or whatever, like most of the lower economic LEGs do that, LIGs. So, that's how they're getting contaminated, of course, and also the accommodations where they are living. If you notice, it's only congested areas where the numbers are increasing massively because there's no place for people to move. Like we have a colony next to our housing where in 1 week we had numbers rise from 5 to 250 or something because there is no social distancing. These guys are living in cramped up houses. So that's something which you have to communicate that, okay, we have staff maybe who's living in house. So like right now, most of our team members are living within the property. They're not even going back to the village, because we don't want them to become COVID carriers to the village. These guys don't have the money to, go to the hospital and everything. That's number one. Number two, you're communicating to the guests that we have spaced out the tables. If you're not part of the same bubble group, you can't sit together. Again, this has to be optics where you are taking feedback from your guests. If you see something which we have done for Atali Ganga, I was staying there when we just opened up, and the safety protocols were fantastic. So I did a video for them talking about the safety protocols, and that's actually helped in getting customers. And when the customers are coming, see, they are your brand ambassadors. You need 1 or 2 people to come and actually see what you're doing, and then they will talk about it. And that's how the flow of business is going to continue. But again, something very important is there are people who think they know everything. As Perkin also mentioned, communication, you have to let the guests know that in case you're not wearing a mask in public areas, you're not going to be allowed. If you're trekking and hiking and if you have proper distance, you can walk without a mask, because if you're wearing a mask and walking, it's actually bad for you. You're breathing in carbon dioxide and it's not healthy. So there are certain leeways, but protocols have to be followed. And our staff, team members, colleagues have to be empowered to go and tell the guests, sir, please wear your mask. It's dangerous for you and for the guest. In your room, you do whatever you want to do. But when you're out in a social area with other people around, you have to be conscious. And that's something which we are sending as a part of our e-registration, that you have to be conscious. In case you are not, we'll give you a first warning, we will give you a second warning. Third, you may have to leave. It's for the community in the end of the day. So that's what we are doing. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have second question for Malav sir. Sirish Goyal, you can go ahead with your question.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. A very good evening to everyone. Actually, I would like to ask that the industry is currently going in the crisis management mode. So if you look to the future, like post-COVID, what trends do you see?
I'm only going to say the hotel industry is also divided into many segments. There are city hotels, there are leisure, there are resorts. So I can speak more confidently about the industry we are in. So we have already started seeing some traction. We are already seeing some bookings. And what we are seeing is that people are still not confident to take flights. So people are traveling to our places from cities which are closer to our places. So for example, if you're in Delhi, you're probably going to Nainital or Mussoorie, but you're not going to Kerala. So this will go on for a few months. Post that, domestic will open up more and more people will want to travel. For international, it will take some time, and international will get regulated once we have a vaccine. Like even when you have to travel to Kenya or South Africa from any part of the world, you have to take a yellow fever vaccine, and a card is made for you to travel. So initially travel will start, people will start coming from Russia because they already have a vaccine, but they will all need to take a vaccine and carry a card. and come into India, or you will have spot testing. They've already put up a lounge at the international airport, and there are many hotels even in Maldives who have started testing at check-in. So I personally believe more than the vaccine, spot testing will make a big difference for India because we are a larger population. And for international to come back, it may only be 2022, because the people who are the demographic, the large part of the inbound which is coming into India are all 60 plus. They are retired. It's not the youth, and they come for longer periods. So I don't foresee that you're going to get a vaccine and they're going to have a vaccine and straight come to India, you know. So they are more scared. So it's going to take time, but we have to be at it. There are no shortcuts, you know. There is no one way. Yeah. Thank you.
Any other question?
So we have already overshot the time, but we'll take the last question. It's for Perkin Rocha, sir. Yamini Singh, you can go ahead with your question.
Good evening, panelists. My question is for Perkin, sir. Sir, as you have mentioned that you have already incorporated different changes in your hotels, for example, no more minibars and etc. Any change, sir, that you would like to continue with even after COVID-19 is over?
No, Kanshu, you know, as I said, you know, this hygiene factor will continue forever now, because now because this has become a mandatory part of any hotel business going forward. So so let me be very straight. Going forward, your average room rates will be derived by the kind of safety measures you will take going forward. Please understand that. So now the question is that you know, for standalone hotels, it's going to be a slight challenge, because today a customer or a guest would like to spend more money onto a branded or a group hotels. Basically, they would understand the safety norms will be followed quite strictly there. And in case of any eventuality, of course, you know, they have something to go, and of course people can hear about them, and management can hear and have respond. So as answering your question, this will be an ongoing trend. Of course, there will be a cost incurred. There'll be a cost incurred in this, of course, slightly higher side, because our OPEX cost will increase. I was seeing some restaurant. You know, I forgot to mention the restaurant. You know, in fact, they already started. The trend is already starting. They're starting 2% sanitizing service tax, basically, and they're keeping it. I think one of my chief financial officers sent me. I forgot the name of the company in Bangalore who started doing this. They're charging the 2% on the total bill to ensure that we sanitize. The guests are, you are safe. Your table is sanitized, and the money goes only to make sure that wherever they're sitting and eating food is totally been taken care. The chair being sanitized, the restaurant being sanitized, they've been looked at, the temperature being checked. So people are paying that money. Let me tell you that. Does it answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you so
So
much.
this will be an ongoing trend. This will not go like security which I mentioned to you after 9/11 attacks. Today, of course, it has become a part of let's say when any hotel opens up, you have to have those parameters in place. This will going forward, I personally feel, become a part of any licensing going forward. You know, it could be a food license, could be a safety license very soon. I think it's coming very soon to you.
Anyone else? Devin? Sujin?
I think that's those were the questions.
Okay. So we can wrap up the things.
Yes, so I can.
Else for the guests.
So we can wrap up. If the guests want to speak something else, then that's okay. But I can wrap up if that's. I think we should wrap up. We are overshooting our time already.
We are already 5:35.
Yes, we are already overshooting our time. So on behalf of everyone virtually present here, I express my sincere gratitude to the guest speakers, Mr. Pradeep Dadlani, Mr. Patrick Kerr, Ms. Akanksha Garg, Mr. Manav Khanduja, and Mr. Mohandas Palan for taking out time from their busy schedule and sharing their thought-provoking insights with all of us. Post this session, we feel relatively more aware and equipped to understand and subsequently bring about innovative practices in today's business environment. I would like to share this opportunity to once again thank Dr. Shailendra Nigam for consenting to be the moderator for the session and conducting the session in a highly coordinated manner. So just to conclude with what we have learned in our session, as our speakers have said, time as it grows old teaches all things. Today, we have learned about different strategies adopted to overcome the VUCA crisis on the hospitality industry. The different practices being adapted with prime objectives of regaining customer trust, where role of online channels in reaching out and AI in operations is going to be very important. With hospitality industry taking a massive hit from the COVID-19 crisis, we will need a lot of restructuring in terms of operations, and some businesses will have to unlearn the practices they have followed for a very long time. With the gaining pace, organization have changed their outlook towards how they do business to make place for them in these times. Also, we've learned a new full form of VUCA today thanks to Ms. Akanksha Garg. V stands for value of organization. U means understand from new learnings. C is care for people, and A is adapt to achieve. With this, we would like to conclude this fruitful discussion.
Ladies and gentlemen, with this, we conclude the session for the first ever Hospitality Summit.
Thank
we are
you.
certain that
Thank
this
you.
session has been.
Thanks, Akansha. Thanks, Pradeep.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
so
Thank
much,
you.
everybody. Yeah.
Thank you.
We would like to request all the participants to stay in put, the speakers to stay in put for some time. We will be sending you to a breakout room. So over there, you would be interacting with our branding and media relations committee.
Going into breakup rooms with a couple of speakers.
So the speakers will receive a pop-up. They have to join the breakout room.
Fine. Thanks, Mohandas ji. It was pleasure interacting with all of you. Looking forward to staying connected. Thanks a lot. Have a good day.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Pradeep ji.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Nigam.
I would like to take this opportunity to commend all the guests, participants, speakers, professors, students, and staff of IMI for making the session an unparalleled success. I would also like to thank our sponsors, without whom this event would not have been possible. Our associate sponsor, RP Sanjeev Goenka Group, co-sponsor, Servo Lubricants, Indian Oil Corporation, Iced Tea partner, Brew House, education partner, Senijage, social media partner, College Dunia, e-commerce partner, H&H, career and skill development partner, MBA Trek, new subscription partner, Mint, innovation partner, Multimind, loan partner, Punjab National Bank, radio partner, Radio City, fashion partner, The Wanka, student community partner, Unity.in, hospitality partner, Your Space, youth partner, Campus Times Pune, digital media partner, DU Beat, media partner, DU Express, human capital, technology partner, Investors Bay, our other sponsors, Cambia, Edupeer, FinLadder, Sage Publishing, Superior, The Tribe Concept, Umbrella Genix, Unschool.in, and Dr. Vaidyas. I would like to thank all the media persons for covering the event online. Thank you all. The participants may now leave the session.
The participants can now leave.